welcome to the Nil-Nil Football Podcast. This is episode 37. A lot of midweek action to talk about, I guess. I mean, there's only like 5 MLS games yesterday, right?
There were a bit. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
I think I watched most of the highlights. I didn't really watch any of the games. Did you watch any?
No, I honestly completely forgot it was a midweek again.
All right. So I guess we'll just go through it quick.
Yeah, so I remember I said Atlanta was going to end up beating the Red Bulls, but the Red Bulls ended up coming out on top 2-1. Not a huge scoreline, but they came away with the win. We also discussed Toronto and New England. I said New England was going to lose. You said, I think that they were going to win. No, you said it was going to be a draw.
I think so.
And it was a draw. It was 2-2. Then you have New York City FC versus Charlotte, and Charlotte came out of this on top, a 3-1 win.
Yes.
I don't remember if I called them winning or losing. FC Dallas ended up topping Philadelphia 1-0. And finally, we have Vancouver coming out on top against Colorado 2-1.
Yep. I'd say the biggest results are Charlotte winning against NYCFC and Dallas beating Philadelphia, probably.
Yeah, I want to say those are the biggest ones as well.
I did see the highlights for Charlotte versus NYCFC, and I mean, ever since Tati Castellanos left NYC, like, I don't think they've won a game, honestly.
Or they have, but they just haven't won it as decisively as maybe a couple of previous games. Because it's not like they were doing completely hot the whole season. Remember, at the beginning of the season, they were absolutely trash for a couple of weeks. And it wasn't until, I want to say, like 5-6 weeks in, they started actually doing well.
Yeah. But now it looks like the form has dipped again because I think they've lost or they've drawn quite a few of their last couple of games. Charlotte, on the other hand, came back from, losing to LAFC.
They came out swinging. They did not want the same thing to happen again.
I know. And interesting is that Christian Fuchs was involved in 2 of the goals. So he assisted. Well, he didn't assist one. I guess if you do the hockey assist, which is the assist to the assist, he gets that on the second one, and in the third one, he scored a penalty. And honestly, I'm surprised he didn't start against LAFC when they played against us.
But, yeah, that's what I was about to bring up.
I mean, clearly he makes a difference on the field. That second goal that Charlotte scored was beautiful. I mean, it was just a centered ball in. Swigolski did a back heel, passed it to Guedes open, and he just shot it into the net. I'd say, what?
It's pretty good for them to come into this matchup and taking out a win because, you have the weekend match and then you have this match. So, it's good for them to usually, like, when you have such close games like this, especially from a team that's not a top team, they don't tend to have a better second game. They usually have a good first game and then lesser second game. But for them was the opposite, losing to LAFC and then coming out and winning against New York. Yeah,
and that's got to mean that we're going to be in New York City, 8-0 at this point, right?
That's exactly what it means.
Anyway, what I was going to say is that Sean Johnson actually did have a lot of work to do in this match. He did a lot of decent saves. I mean, obviously it wasn't enough to turn the game around, but he put a good shift in.
Yeah, it wasn't too many shots from Charlotte. There were 6, but out of those 6, 5 of those were on target.
Yep. But that's pretty much, most of what they had to say. Oh, I knew it. I was watching the highlights. I was like, this stadium doesn't look like the Yankee Stadium, and they were playing in Red Bull Arena, so they had to play in the Red Bull's house.
Oh, no.
I think they switch stadiums probably like every couple games.
Oh, really? They just go back and forth?
Well, it's because Yankees, have the priority, right?
Right.
So they can't play at the same time. Anyway, next one I want to talk about is Dallas Philadelphia. I mean,
Hmm.
this looked like a good back and forth game.
Yeah.
Um, but I think uh, Ferreira was just on fire that day. I honestly thought they would have scored more goals. I th-
Hmm.
there was a handball, a supposed handball in the box. I think it should have been called a pen against
Okay.
Philadelphia. Yeah, against Philadelphia, but the ref, I guess, just didn't want to review it or anything like that. But yeah, Areola and what's his face Ferreira teamed up again to score a goal and beat Philadelphia. Which I feel like every time Philadelphia gets on a good run, they have one of these games that just you know out of
Steps on the
nowhere.
brake.
Yeah. Uh, but that was pretty much it. I mean, most of the teams, I would say more than half the league didn't play, right?
Yeah. But that's why we have this weekend that's coming up, and it's full of matches starting tomorrow, Friday, with Galaxy facing Seattle.
Well, Galaxy just came back of a 5-2 win against Vancouver, right? And
Hmm.
Seattle just came back from a 2-1 loss against Real Salt Lake. So uh, I feel like the Galaxy would take this, considering that Seattle just it doesn't look like they're getting any better, honestly.
Um, yeah, but I think that even though they haven't really had the results falling in their favor, they have pulled out some wins. They did beat Dallas 1-0, and um, they also ended up beating Colorado. This has been the last 5 games. So in the last 5 games, they've had 2 wins and they've had 3 losses. So yeah, not everything's coming out their way, and they're not in really hot form. Uh, but I think they'll end up pulling out a win here. I think that they're due for a win. And it'll probably be a low scoring one like this, maybe a 1-0.
A 1-0 win for Seattle over the Galaxy. I mean, it's
Yes.
definitely possible. The Galaxy had a losing streak up until the last game where they turned it around. So it's very possible that could just be a blip in their form and they just continue losing, or it actually means that they're playing good again. But it was Vancouver. Seattle's a different beast, right?
Exactly. Seattle is Seattle. So I'm still going to give it to Seattle pulling out a win here, 1-0.
I'll go with a 2-1 for the Galaxy.
Okay. So now we move into the Saturday games. By the way, the Galaxy Seattle game will be at 7 p.m. Pacific time on
Playing
Friday.
in LA.
In
I mean in Carson.
Yeah, in Carson.
Sorry.
Just a little further out of LA. Okay, so New York Red Bulls versus Cincinnati. Who do you got?
Uh, this one seems like a draw to me as well. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I would go a 3-3 draw, 3-all. I think that would be an entertaining game. And Brandon Vasquez is on fire, especially for my fantasy team. He's giving me all the points.
Yeah.
But yeah, considering that New York is one of the top teams up there, and Cincinnati's trying to solidify their place in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati hasn't really had too many losses in the last couple of games. They've had more draws than wins. As
Mm.
I'm looking right here, I can see 4 draws in the last 6 games. 1 loss and 1 win against Philadelphia, which I want to say it's probably the most important one out of the 6, which is a top team, which is being the top team in their conference. Um, the loss came to Columbus in that Ohio derby, and the draws came against Vancouver, Nashville, Miami, and Atlanta. Um, I think I still like the odds for Cincinnati coming out on top against Red Bulls. I think that they can bring that form that they've had before again,
Hmm.
and it could probably be like a 3-1.
3-1 for Cincinnati. Wow,
Yeah.
that's generous.
They're capable of doing it.
I mean, Red Bulls is playing at home.
Yeah, but I mean, I still think Cincinnati can do it.
All right.
The majority of these games that I mentioned, they're multiple goal games. and they definitely have the ability to do so.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. I mean, I gave my prediction already, so move on to the next game. 4:30 p.m. on Saturday, we got DC United versus Philadelphia. Now, Philadelphia just ended up losing to FC Dallas 1-0, but before that, I think they were scoring at least four or more goals in every game that they've won so far. Um, DC United, on the other hand, still bottom of the table, I believe. Now being coached by Wayne Rooney against LAFC, a lot of people thought that they were going to concede many goals, but they ended up defending really well and causing a lot of, well, not too many problems, but LAFC just couldn't seem to break through, whether it was a goalkeeper save or, last ditch tackle. So I'd say Wayne Rooney's doing a better job of organizing them in terms of defensively. Now, I would still say that Philadelphia would probably win this game, honestly.
Yeah. As much as I want to give the benefit of the doubt to DC, I think they still have a long way to go before they're in winning light. So, yeah, I think Philadelphia should take this, even though they did just lose, but they did beat the Chicago Fire 4-1. So it should be Philadelphia's game to lose. But like you mentioned, DC did put on a pretty good performance when it came to defending. So I don't think that it might not be a high scoring game as you normally would say, based on where these two teams are in their positions on the table. So yeah, I'll give it to Philadelphia. Maybe like a 2-0.
Yeah, I was going to go for I think 2-0 sounds good to me too, because I don't know how DC is going to get past Philadelphia's defense or their high press.
Right.
Okay, next up we got Montreal versus New England. I just beat you to it, didn't I?
Yeah, I was just taking my breath.
Yeah, so New England, just played the other Canadian team, or one of the other ones in Toronto, and they tied 2-2, but they only ended up drawing because of a last-minute goal by Toronto. Now, I think people would say that New England's probably picking up their form a little bit lately. Montreal, I do not remember how their last game went.
They ended up beating Houston 3-2.
Okay, given our predictions on Montreal so far, then that means they have to lose this match. So
Not necessarily. They, I think, might end up drawing this match.
I'm going to go with a 2-1 loss for Montreal.
I'm going to go on a draw for them.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think that it'll be like a 1-1 draw.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we got Minnesota versus Austin. Austin just completed that comeback against. Who did they play against?
Kansas City?
Yes, it was Kansas City. Now you're facing a Minnesota team that's got the same identical colors, just not navy blue.
Would you say slightly better?
Cooler colors, yeah.
No, I'm talking about team form.
Both, yeah. Team form, yeah. I think Minnesota is just a more consistent team. However, I don't think Austin's going to give up as many goals as they did in the last game. I think it was just more like they weren't focused. I mean, they went 3-1 down and they still managed to pull a win out of that situation. So I think against Minnesota, they're not going to take it as easily as they did. So I'm going to go with like a 3-1 win for Austin on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on the win for Austin. They have just been playing really well all season. They have had a couple of hiccups here and there, but I still think that this game is going to be a win, as better as Minnesota might be over Kansas City. But score-wise, I think it'll be a little bit closer. It'll be like a 3-2.
Yeah. All right, so moving on. Colorado versus Houston. Now, Houston has been losing a lot of games. Easy. Yeah. I'm going to go with Colorado, a 1-0 win. More specifically because they're playing at home as well. So
here's the thing. Like, Houston just has not improved since their star signing came in.
They put all their chips in that basket, right?
They really did, and it hasn't really paid off. Um, I told you this from the beginning that he was just not going to improve the game that much more for Houston. Look on the other hand for Toronto and the signings that they got. It's definitely made them much, much better than what they had been the last couple of weeks without them. So, based on their previous games, which is a loss to Montreal, a loss to Vancouver, a loss to Philadelphia, and that one was a big one, 6-0, a loss to Minnesota, and finally a win to San Jose.
Mhm.
But that's a lot of losses in 5 games.
Yep.
That's 4 out of the 5 games they've lost. So I don't think that this game is going to be any different. I think it'll still be a Colorado win, even though Colorado did end up losing this midweek game against Vancouver. But honestly, if I had to compare Vancouver versus Houston, I would choose Vancouver. So yeah, Colorado win on this one.
Well, Vancouver did play against Houston, and they did win
Yeah,
a couple weeks
exactly.
ago, I think. So, yeah, I agree. I think they put all the chips in one basket, which was the Ache Ache one. I think they were hoping it was going to be like a Vela 2019 kind of signing, but he's not that much of an attacker. I mean, he just does long balls over the top. He distributes to the sides, but I mean, he's never been known to beat multiple players on a dribble or take, you know, or be quick footed or anything like that. I mean, that's not what he's done ever.
And let alone he's not known to be a creative player, so he's not really going to find those positions where teammates might be and a pass that he can actually make to create a play.
Yep. So yeah, I agree that Colorado's going to win, but like I said, it's going to be 1-0.
Okay. What's
Salt
next?
Lake versus Vancouver at 7 p.m.
Okay.
Salt Lake's going to be
Did
playing at home.
before we go on to this 7 o'clock game, I think we skipped over Miami and Toronto.
Miami, Toronto. It's not on my list.
Yeah, they're playing at 5 p.m.
Oh snap, we did. My bad. Bottom of the table derby. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it's not really bottom of the table. It's more like bottom of the table with slightly above the bottom of the table.
I'm gonna go with Miami on this one.
You're going Miami?
Yeah, just
Really?
because I mean their form's been pretty good lately too.
No, yeah, I completely agree with Miami being pretty good. And it's going to be Pozuelo coming back to his former club, or
Mm.
his former club coming to him. Who's playing at who?
They're gonna be playing in Miami.
Okay, so it's his former club coming to play at his new home. Um, yeah, I want to choose Miami as well, but with the signings that we mentioned before, it's kind of tough with Toronto now because they do have that threat coming in. If anything, I would say that this could probably end up in a draw. I think that is more likely.
Nah, I'm gonna go for a 3-2 win for Miami.
Okay, I like your optimism, and I hope that that's the right answer. But I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw.
Okay, you think the Italians are gonna score in this one?
Insigne might.
All right, I'll give you Michael Bradley's gonna score.
Yeah, he's gonna dribble past the whole defense.
Yep. All right, finally, Salt Lake versus Vancouver. Like I said, Salt Lake playing at home. They just
Hmm.
beat Seattle. Vancouver just beat Colorado 2-1. So this one's screaming draw to me, honestly.
Yeah.
Um,
It's screaming a Salt Lake win.
I'm gonna go 1-all draw.
1-0. Yeah, I could see that happening. I'm also going to go with a 1, but it's going to be a 1 for Salt Lake and a nil for Vancouver.
All right. I mean, that's pretty much all we got to say about that. Hopefully, we get Danny Musovsky on the score sheet.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Uh,
that home game advantage just I think is really going to pull Salt Lake into winning.
yeah. I can see that. All right. Let's just quickly go over LAFC San Jose. I don't think there's much to say besides that. I hope they play Bale and Chiellini.
Yeah, that would be fun to see.
Besides that, we've shown that we don't need them, so I'm gonna go with a 3-0 win for LAFC. Honestly,
That is very optimistic, and I want to agree with you on that. But
what the last game?
no, it's not even the last game. It's just San Jose in general. I feel like they're very unpredictable. I don't think you can definitely say that they're going to lose against anybody in in this league, because they're such a good team that tends to come back from a deficit. Um, and yes, they didn't win against Dallas. They ended up losing 4-1, but they did end up tying against Austin 3-all. They ended up drawing against Salt Lake 2 weeks before that. So they have a really good habit of just coming back randomly or having a really really good game out of the blue. So the last game that we had against San Jose, we ended up a 3-2 overall score. And now I believe that San Jose has finally appointed a coach, right?
Yeah, they appointed Luchi Gonzalez, who struggled at FC Dallas when FC Dallas was garbage, and now FC Dallas is good after he's gone. So I don't have high hopes for that hiring.
I don't know why you just mentioning everything just kind of feels like a doomed San Jose.
Well, they didn't choose a successful manager. I'll give them that.
It sounds like they would have been better off with the interim coaches that they had.
Just leave it to Wando.
You know what? Yes, just leave it to Wando. I still think that San Jose will lose this game, but I'll give it a 3-1.
All right, all right.
You said 3-0, right?
3-0, yes.
Yeah, I feel like San Jose will still end up scoring.
If LAFC gets, I think, 3 more wins, we break the winning streak record.
Ooh,
Yes,
please,
because
let's keep that streak going.
I think Seattle has the current winning streak record with 9 in a row that they've won. I think a couple of years ago, and currently we're at 7. So we just need 3 more to pass that record.
Okay. I believe that it's totally possible. Let's see, we got San Jose.
And I do believe in this weekend LAFC can also clinch officially the playoff spot.
Well, I feel like that's kind of more or less been clinched for a while.
I'm saying mathematically.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard for LAFC to really fall out of the playoff spots.
Yeah.
Based on the point difference.
I know. Just saying. We're going to be the first ones who are going to be able to post, like, playoffs confirmed, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's still quite a bit of games to go before we even hit the playoffs.
9 games left. 9 games left.
Okay, so the next game is Columbus versus Atlanta.
This all depends on how Columbus did on their last game.
Columbus in their last game was on the weekend
with Colorado.
Yes, they did draw against Colorado. Let's see.
Against Atlanta, but they're going to be playing in Columbus. My gut's telling me that Columbus is going to win 2-1. I really need those Cucho Hernandez points.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to score a brace. Watch.
He's going to score a brace. Let's see. Did Atlanta play midweek? Yes, they did. So I think that Columbus is going to come away with a win on this one. They did not have a midweek game, so they will be the more rested team out of the two. So I think that they'll be able to be more organized in Atlanta. There's less changes that need to be managed by the manager in order to put a decent squad out there, I think.
No, that's true. Let's move on. Oh wait, you didn't even give a prediction. Did you give a score prediction?
No, but I'll say 2-0
for
Columbus.
I'm just making sure. Okay, 2-0 for Columbus. I said I don't even remember the score I said. 2-1. I think that's what I said. 2-1. Um, yeah, I just don't see anything coming from Atlanta. Like they never really got their attack going. They need
No,
Joseph Martinez to score goals in order to get that attack going, and that has not happened. Right.
they've just been struggling all season.
Yeah. All right. Chicago Fire versus. Wait, never mind. They're not Chicago Fire anymore. They're just Chicago versus New York City FC. Um, I think Chicago is probably going to win this one.
Why?
Well, first half of the season, they were known for defending well. I'd say lately, in the last couple of games, I think they lost their most recent one. But
They were known for defending well until you cursed them by
yes,
saying they're pretty good at defending, and then all of a sudden they started getting scored on and losing every single game.
yeah, no. But what I'm saying is that I think they got their attack sorted out now, um,
Okay.
where they've been scoring a decent amount. I mean, New York City, we've seen that they don't have an attack yet, right?
Right.
And Chicago still they can still defend.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. My hunch is just telling me that Chicago's going to take this one, so I'm going to go for a 3-1 win for Chicago.
Okay. Um, yeah, I agree. I think that out of the two teams, Chicago does have a higher chance of being the more threatening team when it comes to moving forward. Um, with the loss of Castellanos, New York City FC is a little bit lost when it comes to attack. Um, yes, they can defend, but I wouldn't say as well as they could before. They ended up winning a game against Charlotte 3-2, and the last weekend's game they ended up losing 4-1. So that's a lot of multiple goals going into the net for Chicago. But despite those scores, I still think that Chicago is going to come out on top against New York City FC. And I'm going to give it kind of like a Charlotte score. I think it'll be like a 3-2. It'll be something close.
Okay. It's definitely believable. We're going for the upset, both of us. All right, let's
Yeah.
move on. I got Charlotte versus Orlando. I mean, I feel like these two teams are pretty similar. Charlotte
Mhm.
just ended up beating NYCFC, and Orlando won their last match against the Red Bulls, I think, 1-0.
Yes.
So, in this game at 3 p.m., oh no, I mean, my bad, 4 p.m. Um, I don't know. This is a tough one for me to pick. You got any choices yet?
It's kind of tricky because Orlando City, I would normally say they're probably going to be the more dominant team out of the two. But they haven't really had the best outcomes in the last couple of games. They did beat the Red Bulls 1-0. They league wise they ended up losing against New England 3-0. They ended up losing against DC United 2-1. And they also ended up losing against Philadelphia 1-0. The only other game that they did win between those games was their U.S. Open Cup semifinal against the Red Bulls, and that was a 5-1 win. But in league play, they've had a pretty bad record so far when it comes to their win-loss. Um, so I think Charlotte might actually have a better chance at winning this, especially with what they showed midweek. But at the same time, I'm thinking about how exhausted are they going to be 3 games back to back to back.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I mean, you had the loss against LA, you had the win in the midweek. That's already like moving a couple players around.
Well, first of all, they went from Los Angeles to playing in New York.
And where are they going to play now?
They're going to be playing in Charlotte's stadium.
Okay, so that's 3.
Well, they crossed the
Trips.
country in 2 days.
Yeah, but that's 3 trips so far.
Yeah.
So as much as I want to say Charlotte's going to win this, I feel like Orlando's going to be more well rested because their last game was last Saturday on the 13th. So I think it'll be Orlando 1-0.
I don't know. I'm just going to go that Charlotte they're going to be reinvigorated by that random win against NYCFC, and they're going to go on to win 2-1. That's what
That's
I'm.
that's very hopeful, but I think that there's just too many factors going against them to keep that momentum up. I mean, yes, they'll be happy with that win that they ended up getting, but they're just going to be too exhausted, I think. And those players that may have played both matches, either full or to potentially most of both matches, I feel like it's going to be a really difficult thing for Charlotte to put out a squad that is going to be decent enough to actually pull out a win. I don't think they have the depth that another team has, like LAFC, to put out a second team out there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I was just playing the underdog story.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Well, if they do win, that's going to be quite the upset based on everything that they've gone in the last week.
Yep. All right.
Okay, so Kansas City versus Portland. Who's taking that?
Kansas City has been scoring a lot of goals recently. The only problem is that they can't keep that lead.
Yeah.
Portland. I don't know how Portland's form is. How was their last match?
Portland has been not losing too often. They've been more doing their best Liverpool impression by getting 3 draws in their last 5 games.
Wow.
So they ended up getting a loss against Toronto in their most recent game, which was on Saturday of last week. They ended up getting 3 draws back to back against Dallas, Nashville, and Minnesota. And they had 1 win against San Jose. So I want to say that they could end up in a draw, but my gut's kind of telling me that Portland's going to come out with a win on this one. I think they're due.
I'm gonna go with Kansas City again. I'm just gonna play the underdog story, so I'm gonna go 3-2 for Kansas
Okay,
City.
I'm gonna go 2-0 for Portland.
All right, let's move on to the last game. So Nashville versus Dallas.
Oh my gosh.
Dallas. What?
I just kind of scrolled to see what was the last result between the two teams. This was when Portland beat
Oh, like
Kansas
6.
City 7-2.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
So you know what? I'm gonna change mine to maybe about a 4-1.
I'm sticking with my original prediction.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that they learned their lesson, and they know how to defend that.
Well, we'll see if they learned it or if Portland just remembers how well they beat them and end up trying to repeat another 7-2. Okay, so Nashville, Dallas. You have said that Nashville was one of the better defending teams coming into this season, but that it was still to be seen how they were going to perform being in this new conference in the Western side. So far, it doesn't seem like they're the same great defending team that you were describing at the beginning of the season. So given that, what do you think that this result's going to be?
I think that all the signs are pointing to Dallas. So Nashville has lost its 4th game in the last 7 home matches.
Wow.
And then
Is this going to be a home game for them?
Yes. FC
Okay.
Dallas has won 4 of its last 6 matches. So, I mean, in terms of form, it looks like FC Dallas has it. However, I think the best player, you could argue that Nashville has the best player on the field, referring to Hani Mukhtar, but I mean, Dallas has Areola and Ferreira, right? I think that partnership is more dangerous, honestly. So,
Not only that, you've got a lot more experience there.
yep. And Ferreira, he's going to be suspended for this match.
Really?
Yes.
Did he get a red card? What happened?
That's probably yellow card accumulation.
Oh, okay.
So, I guess Dallas is going to be without firepower, but they still got Areola.
Yeah, so I still think that they'll be able to claw something out.
Nashville hasn't won any of its last 5 games.
Yeah, and they've lost a total of 9.
Yep.
And they've drawn another 9.
Yeah, I think this is leaning toward Dallas.
Yeah. For me, I feel like Dallas is going to take this win. Um, and Nashville, you know, I think they've just been struggling a lot most of the season. I agree, Mukhtar is a really good player, but he's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be him alone who's going to end up taking this whole team on his back and getting a win. If anything, they can get a draw, but I think that's very wishful thinking. Um, Dallas, even without Ferreira, I think they can still be more of a threat than Nashville.
Yep. All right. So I'm gonna go with Dallas to beat Nashville. I'm gonna go with a 2-0 win.
I'll go three just to make it exciting.
All right. Um, this one. So last thing I want to mention is I did bring it up briefly that LAFC can clinch its official playoff spot this weekend. So let me read you off the scenarios in which they can win it. All right.
Okay.
So there's a total of 7 ways that LAFC can clinch it. If they win or draw at San Jose, they clinch.
Okay.
If Seattle lose, they clinch. If Minnesota lose, they clinch. If Colorado lose or draw versus Houston, they clinch a playoff spot. If Salt Lake lose or draw versus Vancouver, we also clinch the playoff spot. If Dallas lose, or if I'm guessing they mean the Galaxy lose versus Seattle. Yeah. If Galaxy loses versus Seattle and Dallas draw at Nashville and Minnesota draw versus Austin. That's the most complicated one. But honestly, the
So
first
pretty much
6, one of them is bound to happen.
So pretty much, if anybody in the top 7 who isn't LAFC does
Yeah.
bad, then LAFC clinched a playoff spot.
Yep.
Makes sense. Interestingly enough, Dallas has 27 games played.
They're one of the teams with the most, right?
Yeah. The rest are either on equal terms with 25, with a couple on 26. But Dallas is the only one that I'm looking at that has 27 games, and they're still 15 points behind.
Actually, yeah, you're right. Nobody on the other conference has 27 games either. Interesting.
Yeah, nobody, only them. Well, it sounds like I'm gonna go with a hunch that we're gonna end up clinching a playoff spot this weekend, no matter what.
Yes, I agree. Another interesting thing is that we could break a record with that too. So,
What with being the earliest to clinch a playoff spot?
yes.
Yeah, figures.
So, the first club to clinch by season. Oh, wait, well, that wouldn't be a record. Never mind. We're currently, that would be our 26th game. The earliest one to do it was LAFC themselves in 2019 when they clinched it in the 25th week, but there was only 31 games back then. And we've added 4 more games or something.
Okay. And what week is this weekend?
Actually, it doesn't make any sense why we only played 31 games. Whatever. We're currently, well, for LAFC,
26.
it's
It'll
26.
be 26
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll be the fastest one apart from that LAFC season in 2019 where we would have got the playoffs. So, and we're the only team. We're the only team that can clinch.
That's true. Well, that's a good thing. We're breaking our own record.
Yep.
Technically, even though we're doing it one game after we did the last time. Yeah, I think it's time for us to at least get a couple of more records broken. So, if anything, I'm more looking to that points record being brought back to LAFC, especially if we end up breaking that 80 point threshold that you mentioned. I think that'd be pretty good. And if we end up winning, which is I think a a pretty big ask for the rest of the games that remain. But if we do, it's going to be probably like the highest score that has been put out there based in points, right?
Yep.
So
Uh,
that's exciting.
all right, let's move on. That's enough
Okay,
MLS. Let's go to our next favorite league, I guess, the Premier League.
we're going across the pond.
Yes, sir. Oh my God. Okay, let's look at all these matches this weekend. Okay, we're in match week 3. You know.
Okay, before we go into the matches, let's go over the current standings just after 2 games. I'm going to go with your top 5, which is Man City, Arsenal, Brentford, Tottenham, Newcastle.
Yes. And you're gonna
The
go
following
Oh, you're gonna go top down.
top down, yes.
All right, keep going.
Okay, so then you have Leeds, Chelsea, Brighton, Aston Villa, and Nottingham Forest, and those round up your top 10 placings in the current standings. Now, the lower half of the table, 11th is Bournemouth, Liverpool, Fulham, Wolves, and Leicester. So that's up to 15th. And then the bottom 5 are Crystal Palace, Southampton, Everton, West Ham, and Manchester United.
I know the only reason you did that is just to emphasize that I'm in last place, or my team's in last place.
No, I just think that it's good to have kind of a.
Why don't you say that for the MLS? You know, you didn't do that.
We could have, but
No, you're just trying to
I didn't
emphasize
think of,
that I'm at the
I
bottom
didn't
and you're in 12th.
look. I didn't think about it until we moved over. I just thought it'd be kind of good to see this.
Sure.
So now with this kind of visual, we can look into these games and kind of get an idea of where everybody is so far after 2 games and how they'll do in their third game. So Tottenham Wolves. I'll ask you what you think, but for me, my first impression is Tottenham. Easy.
Yes, Tottenham looked a little bit lazy against Chelsea over the weekend, but they still managed to pull off a 2-2 draw, and that was playing terribly. I don't think they're going to play terrible against Wolves, so
And with questionable goals.
yep. So I think Tottenham's probably going to pull out the win on this one. I'm going to say probably like 2-0 or something.
I'm thinking it's going to be a bit of a bigger scoreline, probably like 4-0.
Yeah. All right. Also, because Wolves got rid of Connor Cody, so
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them to defend against that trio that you were talking about. Son, Kane, and what's the third guy?
Kulusevski.
Kulusevski. I always end up forgetting the name.
You gotta start memorizing the guy's name.
I need to start memorizing. Okay, so Everton and Nottingham Forest.
All right, the relegation derby. Let's see.
Well, one of them's close to is relegation.
I think Frank Lampard's going to pull through on this one.
You think so?
Yeah. There's also rumors that Dele Alli is probably going to end up in Turkey at this point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I want to say, I think the rumor was with Besiktas, but not 100% sure. But
And he'll most likely just be on the bench, right?
probably. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Everton to win on this one. Although Nottingham Forest, I think in the past 3 days has signed like 3 more players.
Yeah, so I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go with Nottingham Forest getting the win on this one. Nottingham Forest getting the win on this one. I think it'll be like a 2-1, but I have liked what I saw from them, at least in the highlights. They seem to play pretty well organized. So I think that they can pull out a win against Everton, who are still trying to figure out what they're doing.
Yeah. Let's say I'm going to go Everton. I'll just go with a 1-0 win. Make it scrappy.
It'll be a 1-0 maybe first half, and then a 2-win full-time score.
Wow.
Okay, so Leicester versus Southampton.
Now, Leicester had they ended up conceding 4 goals to Arsenal. However, Arsenal's been playing pretty decent this season. And Southampton actually won their last match, I'm pretty sure.
No, they drew against Leeds.
Right. But it was a comeback where they were 2
It
nil
was a
down and they turned
comeback
it around.
with a Walker Peters second goal to
Yeah.
tie it up.
I think I'm going to go with Leicester to win this one. Sure, they've struggled a little bit, but I think this is the point where Brendan Rodgers turns it around and whips his team into shape. And I mean, he doesn't have any new signings, and most of his players want to leave. But I think he's gonna turn it around for this one and get like a 2-1 win.
Yeah. I'm gonna go the other way on this one as well, and say that Southampton's going to take this game. Leicester, you know, they have Madison, who tends to have pretty good games, and yeah, maybe Rodgers is gonna try to whip them back into shape and bring out what we usually see from Leicester. But I still think that one of the biggest factors is still the goalkeeping situation. Schmeichel, apart from being the goalkeeper, I think he was he was a captain, right?
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I remember.
Well, they
him
got
being the
rid of
captain.
most of the originals, so yeah, I would assume.
Yeah, so I believe he was the captain. So his presence, I feel like, really kept Leicester together when it came to giving out their performance, and kind of like keeping everybody's mental in the game. Southampton, from what I ended up seeing in the highlights with Leeds, they didn't have a great first half. That was all Leeds, and Leeds was doing great. But that second half, they really pulled out everything they had in order to come back and draw the game. So based on that, if they can bring in their second half performance into this game and make it a full game, stretch it out for the full game, I think that they'll be able to take on Leicester. And if anything, it's probably going to be like a 2-1 win. I want to say 2-0 for Southampton, actually. So I'm going to give it to Southampton over Leicester.
All right, now let's move on to Fulham versus Brentford. Now Fulham, they had an amazing first week in the Premier League by tying against Liverpool, and then they followed that up by equally, was it Fulham versus Newcastle, right?
It was Fulham versus Wolves, and that was a draw.
Yeah, it was a 0-0.
Right.
It was a 0-0 draw, something really boring. Mitrovic missing a penalty, so like they give one good performance and then the next one they flounder, right? Now, do they only play to match the level of the opposition at this point? Is what I'm wondering. Like, if it's a good team, do they try extra hard?
So you're saying, are they a mimic team?
Yeah, pretty much. Brentford, on the other hand, destroyed Man United, so I assume they should destroy Fulham with the way they were playing against us. So I'm gonna go for Brentford to win 3-1. Honestly,
Yeah, this will be one of the first games that I end up agreeing with you. Brentford, I feel like it's going to do better. I loved watching the highlights that they did against Manchester United. No, not because it's Manchester United. I just really enjoyed seeing how they were playing. They were playing how Manchester United should have been playing.
Yeah, no.
Or at least how everybody would expect Manchester United to play. Before that, on their first game, they ended up drawing against Leicester, and that was a 2-2 draw. So it's not like they're going to be overly performing. But I do think that out of the two, Brentford has kind of a better shot at winning against Fulham. I feel like it's better to go from a drawing game to a winning game than it is to go from Fulham, who performed way better in their first game than in their second game. So, yeah, Brentford for the win.
All right. Crystal Palace versus Aston Villa. Now, Crystal Palace drew against Liverpool. Was it 1-1?
1-1, and against a 10-man Liverpool.
And Aston Villa ended up beating Everton in the last match 2-1. Aston Villa was playing okay. I've heard that Crystal Palace has been actually pretty decent lately.
Yeah, they played much better than what I normally remembered them doing. although they were playing a very conservative way, just going on to the counterattack, I feel like Vieira's play style isn't naturally that. It's more uh, pushing forward kind of play. So I think that in this game they'll be able to play more their game against Aston Villa. But Aston Villa really did show a lot of effort against Everton. So from the two, I think it's kind of tough to say which one is going to do better and win this game. If anything, I'll say it's going to be a draw.
What's the score?
The score will be 2-2.
2-2. I think I'm going to go with Crystal Palace on the 2-0 win.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Bournemouth, Arsenal. Now, Bournemouth ended up losing to Man City last week in 4-0. I mean, I think everybody expected that to happen. Arsenal,
Yeah.
on the other side of that coin, ended up winning 4-2 against Leicester, who, on paper, is a better team than Bournemouth. So, given that reasoning, I say that Arsenal should easily win this game, and if they don't, it's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah. I don't think that this season Arsenal has too much to worry about when it comes to uh, possibilities of losing this game against Bournemouth. Gabriel Jesus has been playing very well, and as has the rest of the Arsenal team. So I think for me, it's a very easy game to call and give it to Arsenal for the win.
All right. You don't have a score
I'll say it's
prediction?
yeah. I'll say 3-0.
All right. Actually, I was going to go with something similar. Did I already say mine? I don't remember.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I was going to go 3-0 as well.
Okay.
I guess I just thought it really strong.
You thought it loud enough that you thought you said it out loud.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next game is going to be West Ham versus Brighton.
No, West Ham, they lost against, who was it again?
They lost against Man City and they ended up losing. Losing.
Ludicrous.
They again losing against Nottingham Forest.
Right. Although they technically should have won that game. And they also just played in the Europa League qualifiers, ended up winning 3-1 there, so I'd say they have a decent form. Although Brighton is a very well-run team, and they all play like a machine, not like individual players, so I think that might be difficult for West Ham to overcome. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw for this one. I think West Ham is going to struggle to keep Brighton away.
Yeah, I feel like that is a very, very likely result. Brighton coming from a win and a draw. It's going to be interesting because I feel like Brighton has been playing better than last season. They have a really good goalkeeper in Sanchez. And from some of the highlights that I saw against Newcastle, they had plenty of shots, but I think they just were very unlucky and none of them ending up in the back of the net. From the statistics that I'm seeing, they had 13 shots and 7 of those were on target. So I feel like their form is going to be pretty good. I would agree with you in saying that it's going to be a draw, but something is telling me that Brighton's going to come away with a win against West Ham. As much as I want to give West Ham the benefit of the doubt in this matchup, I think with that qualifier game having happened, it might take a little bit out of some players. So I'm going to give it to Brighton, winning this maybe 2-1.
Wow. All right, next match we're going to go with Leeds United States versus Chelsea, who's owned by an American.
It's United States. This is the USA Derby.
Yes, the USA Derby. Leeds is good on paper. I don't think they've sorted out the defense enough, though. And Chelsea, I mean, they got Tuchel as a manager, and they were playing really good against Tottenham in the last match. I mean, obviously, everybody thinks that they deserve it because the Tottenham goals were a little bit sketchy. So I think they're just going to continue that form against Leeds and probably get like one of them crazy games, like a 3-2 win or something like that.
Okay. solid points. I completely agree with you on everything that you said, but I'm going to go with my biased uh, outcome here, and I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Leeds.
You really have a lot of faith in those Americans, let me tell you.
I do. I really
You
do.
should just send
Uh,
Pulisic over there.
Look, it's very difficult for that scoreline to actually happen against Chelsea, who you mentioned had a really great game against Tottenham. If anything, they were the better performing team out of the two and should have come away with the win. And maybe it should have not been a 2 something win. I think it would have been realistically more like a 4-1 win.
Yeah.
But I want Leeds to win. But I feel like everything that you said just makes more sense. But I'm still sticking to my score, 2-1. Leeds had a great performance in the first half against Southampton, but they just put their foot off of the gas in the second half. I think that needs to be addressed for this game, where they need to constantly perform how they do in the first half all throughout the match, and maybe also take advantage of their chances and put them away. Otherwise, they might end up letting another team, in this case Chelsea, coming back and stealing a possible win from them.
Interesting. All right. Well, I guess that's that. Then we got Newcastle Man City. What is it, Saudi Arabia
Oil
derby?
Derby.
Yeah. Sand money.
It's the sand money derby.
Number 1 versus number 2.
Yeah.
Because I think Newcastle now is like 4 times richer than Man City or something.
Yeah.
But either way, you can only spend what you earn because that's financial fair play. But we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I still think Man City is probably going to win this, honestly.
Oh yeah, I don't think that Newcastle are in any position to still compete against how well Man City is managed. So it might not be a huge scoreline this time around. Maybe it could be like a 2-0.
Oh, dang it, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say 2-0 as well.
Yeah, like a little bit more closer to like that West Ham score in the first week.
Yeah, and it's mostly because I don't think Newcastle can break down Man City's defense, although it's not that great, but it's more that Man City has the ball so much that the other team almost never has chances to attack.
Yeah, I mean, it only leaves Newcastle to play in a counter attack form.
Yes, and I don't know how successful they've been at doing that, but I don't think Man City's going to fall for it. So I'm going to go, like I said, 2-0 win for Man City. Or like I said.
You came up with that.
I said that I was going to say it, so.
Okay, you're fine. You said it first.
Yeah. All right, then we got Man United versus Liverpool. Of course, my team got destroyed by Brentford over the weekend. But
and my team got destroyed by Crystal Palace.
We're going to sign Casemiro any day now.
Yeah, but he won't be ready for this game.
Wait, everybody went into panic mode after the last match because of that Man United loss. And then all of a sudden, I think around Wednesday is when all the rumors started flying in of like every single player that Man United was associated with. So
every player that has been born and registered into a league has been linked to Manchester United, so including the youth academy.
Let me read off a quick list of the names that they've been associated with. So,
yes, please.
Christian Pulisic on loan from Chelsea.
I saw that one.
Thomas Meunier from Dortmund. You got Joao Felix, as they say in English. Apparently, we bid 137 million, and that was rejected for Joao Felix. Casemiro, but that one's the one that's most advanced right now. Sergino Dest, Adrien Rabiot, who's the transfer is on hold now because he's asking for too much money. What a surprise!
What if you bring Depay back?
Nah, I don't think he'd want to come back. I think that bridge is burnt.
Wait, who did you mention before I said Depay?
Rabiot.
Oh, Rabiot. Yeah.
Then there's Mateus Cunha, who plays for Atleti, who would be a decent signing. Jamie Vardy, because we need a striker.
Hey, you keep flaming Jamie Vardy for being
old.
Old.
Yeah.
Yeah, Manchester United is interested.
I know. Then we
Honestly,
got
if I was Vardy and Manchester United came knocking, I would say yes, especially given the current situation at Leicester.
yeah, but I would say that'd probably be a step down.
Yeah, I guess
But you'd make more money at Man United anyway.
you'd
So
make more money. Although at his point, like you said, he is nearing that retirement age. When it comes to strikers,
yeah,
uh, would it be better to move on and say I played for Manchester United, or stay at Leicester and solidify your legendary status?
I don't think he's been starting that many games, huh?
I don't know. I'm not sure if he's started all of his games. Let me see. So this last game. Where is it? Okay. So the game against Arsenal, he did start and got subbed out. And the first game against Brentford, he also started. So yeah, he started both games, but he only finished the first one.
Well, all right. I don't know. I'd probably go to Man United just to see what it's like being at a top club. I guess one of the top six, even though you already won the league, right? But yeah, I didn't even finish listing off the players because
Yeah,
there's still.
who's
I
after
mean,
Vardy?
Jan Sommer from. Well, actually, I think he's a free agent because he left Dortmund, I
Gladbach?
believe.
Wait,
Or is that Marwin Hitz that was at Dortmund?
Sommer was at Gladbach,
Are you sure he was there the whole time?
or did he move on to Dortmund?
We haven't caught up with the Bundesliga, as you can tell.
I mean, the last time I had seen him was when he was.
No, never mind. You're right. You're right. He's been at Mönchengladbach since 2014. I'm thinking of Marwin Hitz,
Okay.
who's
Yeah,
like his doppelganger.
yeah, because like Sommer, at least to me, has been just always Gladbach.
Yeah, Marwin Hitz was the one from. He was playing at Augsburg, and then he got bought by Borussia Dortmund, and he played for 4 years there, only making 27 appearances.
Yeah, but you'd sign him, and you're saying he'd end up being the number two.
Pretty
He wouldn't
much,
be
yeah.
Number one. Honestly, I'd even put number three over De Gea at this point.
Well, I mean, he's only had one bad game. We'll see how many more he has.
Just one bad, just one bad
Okay,
game.
that season was like 2 years ago that you're thinking about.
De Gea every season has a bad game.
No. Every player can have a bad game. Anyway, Jan Sommer, Caicedo from Brighton. I guess we were trying to rob them of the players that destroyed us too. And then Aubameyang is the last one, but I don't think that one's close, to be honest. But that's
Yeah,
just
I don't think it makes sense to raid Barcelona, but at the same time, I kind of just want to see Barcelona burn. So hopefully
that's too
that
late.
doesn't
They already registered everybody. At this point, they're gonna burn next season.
once they see the receipt.
Yeah, but anyway, this Man United versus Liverpool is on Monday, actually at 12 p.m. So I guess I'll watch that for my lunch. 60% chance that Liverpool's going to win this game.
I think that is a very, very hopeful statistic.
Yeah, but
A possible, but at this point, I don't think it's a realistic one.
yeah, I've heard a couple of rumors. So obviously, Darwin Nunez is going to be out because of suspension.
Honestly, that's not going to affect the team. They're actually going to end up performing better.
I've heard Firmino and Jota are out due to injury.
Yeah, there has been a lot of injuries at Liverpool. That's why it was kind of a terrible thing that Darwin ended up getting a red card, because it puts Klopp in such difficult position to try and find a replacement. So we're kind of having that.
I mean, you still got your starting. You got your starting like Carvalho, Salah, and actually you're missing one. Harvey Elliott, maybe.
Harvey Elliott, my goodness, he had such a great game. I love watching that guy. He plays so good, and he is nothing but energy when he's out there. Um, well, normally I think we would also have Curtis Jones in there, but I believe he's also out on injury as well.
Nice.
And then we also have Joe Gomez, who did come into the game, subbing in for Nat Phillips, who I was shocked that was even playing a game for Liverpool, since he was on loan last season in the championship with Bournemouth, I think.
Yes, he
Um,
was.
and I think he did pretty well since, well, Bournemouth are here now. Um, and he was playing this game, but he was struggling against Crystal Palace. I feel like the pace was a little bit too fast for him. Um, but Joe Gomez coming in the second half to relieve him uh, isn't 100% fit. So it was kind of a risky play to put him in. So Liverpool is having kind of flashbacks to 2 seasons. Was it 2 seasons ago when we had like all those injuries? I think.
Oh, it was the 2019 season.
Oh, okay, 2019. So it's flashbacks to that where we had.
I was literally reading about Nat Phillips, where in December 2019 they recalled him from his loan because you didn't have any center backs, and then 12 days later they sent him back out on loan.
Yeah.
once that crisis was over.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing though, that time that he did come in to sub and, fill in the spots, he had a pretty good game, and I thought that he should have continued playing. This time around, I'm not as convinced as I was back then. I feel like he, yes, has what it takes to be a defender, but maybe not a Liverpool defender. I feel like he is more of a reactionary defender than being a proactive defender, and kind of like seeing what's going to happen before it happens. Um, so there's a lot of issues with Liverpool right now, especially when it comes to attack. And if anybody saw any of the two games before, you can see that Liverpool isn't kind of the same Liverpool from last season and the season before, where they're firing on all engines and kind of like all on the same brain like wavelength. Um, so I don't think it's going to be as easy of a win if they do end up getting a win in this game. I'm going to go with a draw.
I'm gonna go.
I think
I'm
they're
gonna be
continue
super
that
biased.
whole draw.
I'm gonna be super biased and say Man United are gonna win this game because we're gonna turn it around. Ronaldo's gonna score a hat trick. Because if I believe they're gonna win, then I'm crazy enough to believe anything. So
Ronaldo's going to get a hat trick with
Yes.
a McFred assist.
Ronaldo's gonna get a hat trick in the first half and then leave the stadium at halftime. And he's
I've
gonna
done
sign
my
with
job. I'm
he's
outta
gonna
here.
he's gonna sign with another club by the end of the day.
You know what? As crazy as that sounds, that also sounds pretty believable.
I know.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people say that Liverpool's going to win. I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. Darwin, I don't think it's going to affect that much in the sense of team play. Like I said,
They're gonna have more
ended up-
chemistry at this point.
Yeah, honestly, yes. They were playing better without him in the second half. If anything, the person who's going to bring out a win for Liverpool, it's going to be Luis Diaz.
Yeah.
That boy has got the biggest backpack in the world and put all of Liverpool in it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to be playing a 4-4-2 because you're missing 3 out of your 5 forwards. So
Yeah, so you know what? It's going to be 4 goals for Luis Diaz.
wow, okay, and that's a draw. This is what you said.
And that's a draw. Yeah, that's a draw. That's my style of a draw.
Dang. Okay.
No.
2 goals for, 2 against.
You know what? I'm going to go with what you said before, how this is a derby and anything happens in a derby. So I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw, Liverpool Man United.
All right. And that's the last one of the week, right? Yep.
Yeah, that's the last one of the weekend. This is going to be on Monday.
All right. I would talk about like the PSG drama, but I'm kind of interested to see what happens on the weekend.
Yeah, let's let that develop and get
I
a
wanna-
bit more information.
I want to let that marinate and discuss that on our next podcast. Also, because it's getting pretty late.
Pretty early.
Anything that we missed?
Not that I can think of, unless you want to go over any other leagues. But for me, these are the ones that we paid the most attention to.
Yeah, let's just leave it at that for now. All right. Make sure you guys join us in the next episode. Be sure to give us a follow wherever you listen to this on. Leave a comment if you want, because we are on YouTube occasionally.
That's true.
Yeah, but that's it for today's episode. Join us in the next one. See y'all's later.
Bye.